August 23rd, 2018, Hollister, City of Hollister Planning Commission meeting, called a meeting to order. Verification of agenda posting, please.
Yes, good evening. The agenda for the August 23rd, 2018 Planning Commission meeting was posted on Monday, August 20th, 2018 at 4:55 p.m.
Thank you very much, Brian. And I will go ahead and lead in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Huboy. Here. Chairperson Torres.
Here.
Commissioner Lenore.
Present.
Commissioner Valdivia. Here. Commissioner Munzer.
Here.
All right. We have approval of the minutes for June 28th, 2018. Does anybody have any question, comments in regards to the minutes that were included in the packet?
So moved to approve the minutes. Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. At this point, we'll open up communications from the public on items not listed on the agenda. This is a time for anyone in the audience to speak on any item not on the agenda and within the subject matter jurisdiction of the Planning Commission. When the Planning Commission calls your name, please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and speak to the Commission. Each speaker will be limited to 2 minutes. Please note that state law prohibits the Planning Commission from discussing or taking action on any item not on the agenda. Do we have any speaker cards? Okay.
No speaker cards yet. Oh.
No speaker cards, okay. So we will move on to... Oh, you do? Oh, okay.
Oh, there is.
Mr. Sean Tannenbaum from the San Bernardino High School District.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Thank you. I apologize. I'll get the order down. So I'm the superintendent for the high school district. Very proud to be there, and we've been off to a great start for our 18-19 school year. And I just wanted to introduce myself. I've been working with Brian a little bit in the county regarding future growth and planning to understand the impact on our high school district. Just to let the commission know that right now we are up in enrollment, as you might imagine. In the last 2 years, we've seen over 130 new students coming into the high school. So our hope and our goal is to be at each planning commission meeting to have an opportunity to inject, our commentary, to work with the planning commission, the city, and the county, and how we can partner as far as having strong schools and a strong community. The unfortunate thing is the high school district finds out about a planned development after the fact. And that is something that we live with that impact. So, for example, if there's a new planned development of 774 homes that goes in that just landed on my desk, and I wasn't able to be at the table, and this is not with the city, it's with the county, all of those students are going to come to my high school. So I've reached out to the county and the city and the planning commission. We want to be a strong partner. I have some information. I'll leave it with Brian for you, just kind of a little bit about our goals, our philosophy. But really look forward to having a good collaborative discussion. Thank you for the time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, so we'll move on to page 2. We have public hearings. We do have notes from staff that items 1, 3, and 5 are requesting continuances, and I think everybody received those notes in your packet. So we will move to item number 2, Site and Architectural number 2018-10 for American Casting. The applicant is requesting approval of site and architectural application for construction of a new 21,200 square foot 2-story industrial building on a 1.4 acre parcel located at 71 Fallon Road, further identified as San Benito County Assessor's parcel numbers 051-120-063 and a portion of 051-120-062. A lot line adjustment has been submitted. The proposed project would replace the current temporary 2,160 square foot pre-manufactured building, which received a 6-month extension through the approval of a conditional use permit 2016-7 at the regular Planning Commission meeting of March 28, 2018. The project site is located in the M1 Light Industrial Zoning District, and CEQA is categorically exempt. Amber?
Thank you, Commissioner Torres. The applicant is seeking a site and architectural approval to construct a new 21,200 square foot two-story industrial building on a 1.4 acre parcel to replace the existing temporary 2,160 square foot pre-manufactured building, which received a 6-month extension through the approval of CUP number 2016-7 at the regular planning meeting on March 22nd, 2018. The site is located in the N1 Light Industrial Zoning District at 71 Fallon Road. The building area...
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, I can barely hear you. Is the mic on?
It is.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. The building area is proposed. Is that any better? No?
No.
Yeah?
No.
Okay. The building area is proposed to be 21,637 square feet. The lower level is proposed to be 18,807 square feet, and the upper level to be 2,800 square feet. The lower level foundry is proposed at 15,210 square feet and will include the following: a 13,950 square foot foundry shop, which includes 4 molding fabrication areas, each at 2,000 square feet, and 2 casting rooms, which include dampering, transfer grills, self-closing doors, and a screen barrier curtain. Each casting room has a smoke enclosure for equipment usage of greater than 400,000 BUT per hour. Input CBC 509.4.2, a roll-up door and access which opens to the rear parking lot. There will be 2 700 square foot areas in the foundry shop designated for shipping and delivery. Both will have 2 roll-up doors which will open to the rear parking lot. Aisles throughout the foundry lead to 5 exit points, one of which leads to a mechanic equipment area on the west side of the building. A 1,260 square foot maintenance shop with door access to the foundry and an exit to the east side of the building. It's located on the northeast corner of the site. Also, a 240 square foot electrical room is proposed to the northeast corner of the building, surrounded by the maintenance shop, which will have exits to the eastern side of the building and another on the northern frontage of the building. The lower restroom and janitor closet is proposed to be 627 square feet and is located along the northern side of the building. The janitor's closet will include a sink and house the water heater. The men's restroom will include 3 sinks, 2 urinals, and 1 regular restroom stall and 1 ADA restroom stall. The women's restroom will include 3 sinks, 3 regular bathroom stalls, and 1 ADA stall. The lower office admin area is proposed to be 2,434 square feet and will include the following: a reception area with main entrance to the building. This will include double doors. 2 office spaces, a waiting area, a restroom, an elevator equipment room, elevator, and staircase. The stairway and the elevator will open up to the upper level. 2 engineering offices, also called team rooms 1 and 2, both with doors accessing the foundry shop to the 2,434 square foot office and elevator reception area. The reception area will have 2 desk space, a waiting area, and a restroom. In addition, there will be an elevator equipment room and an elevator staircase that will lead to the upper level. The upper level will have a total of 2,800 square feet and consist of 3 offices, 1 360 square foot conference room, 1 engineering office. This will be team room 3, an elevator and a stairway approach, a restroom. It will also include a 370-foot lunchroom with a refrigerator, kitchenette with sink and microwave. The lunchroom will have access to an outdoor lunch terrace, which will be protected by a guardrail and have an outdoor staircase that leads to the ground level. The northern elevations feature varying heights and textures on the east third of the building and a single-story 24-foot roofline. This side of the building has an access door which leads to the electrical data room and exterior staircase leading up to the second-story terrace. This facade is plaster and the roof of sloped metal panels. On the western third of the building, 2 different roof lines are proposed. In front, the north side, is a 14-foot, 6-inch single-story feature which marks the exterior of the restroom and the janitor's closet area. This features 4 small single-panel windows, a plaster facade, a metal siding roof. Behind the section will be an exterior portion of the foundry shop. This area is a 24-foot high, flat roof, single-story feature. The exterior wall will be made of pre-finished insulated metal panels with a matching roof trim. There will be a large American casting sign adorning the west wall. The center third of the building contains the storefront entryway. This section is 2 stories high and is proposed with 31 feet 6 inches sloped metal panel roofing. There's a slightly off-centered, clerestory window, skylight that will provide natural light to the second-story lunchroom. The second story contains 6 pairs of vertical windows on a place facade. The outdoor terrace sits on the east half of the second-story section. The lower story is reseated with 4 offset columns framing the double-door entryway. The storefront is aluminum with large windows looking into the reception area. To either side of the front is plaster, facade, and 5 vertical windows that match the second story and mark the exterior of the lower engineering rooms. The south exterior elevation shows the building at 19 feet tall with a 5-foot standing seam metal panel roof for a total height of 24 feet. A gutter runs along the length of the roof line at 225 feet and has 2 rain leaders attached to its sections 4 and 7. These will drain into the underground stormwater retention basin located under the northern front parking lot. The exterior of the building will be covered in pre-finished insulated metal panels and will have 8 roll-up doors and 5 exit doors. Switch to this. The parking will include 53 vehicle parking spots with 2 ADA compliant stalls and have a shared passenger loading space in between them. The proposed use requires 54 parking spaces. The proposed number meets the required parking. In addition, the applicant has also shown landscaping that will be between Fallon Road and the front parking lot. There are also 2 smaller landscaped areas in the back parking lot as well. In addition, there will be landscaping in the front of the building. The entire building has also been proposed to be fully sprinklered, and we have also spoken with fire and PD. The emergency access around the building has been met. The applicant has proposed to build the building in 3 different stages. The first, to construct the majority of the building. The second, to relocate equipment and personnel from the temporary building, remove the temporary pre-manufactured building, and then build the final section of the new building where the temporary pre-manufactured building had previously sat. Lastly, there has been an amendment to Addition 56. Since the agenda was sent out, the city and the applicant have come to agreement that no reimbursement for road improvements will be necessary. We are working together to ensure that all utilities for the project, if approved, can be placed before the road resurfacing takes place. Condition 56 in the draft resolution contains the reimbursement agreement. The applicant has agreed to this modified condition that's now before you. And this is our standard frontage improvements. So this, the condition that you see before you, again, the standard, it does not include any mention of the road reimbursement. With that, staff recommends that the Planning Commission review the applicant's request and receive all written and oral testimony regarding the proposal and consider approving the site and architectural number 2018-10 subject to the findings and conditions contained in the draft resolution. Are there any questions for staff?
Thank you, Amber. Any questions? Okay, with that, we will open up the public comment period at 6:14. Do we have any speaker cards on this item?
I think we may.
Ann Hall with San Benito Engineering, here on behalf of the applicant. Actually, the applicant is here as well if you had any specific questions about the use. But I did want to say I appreciated working with staff to clarify some of the conditions through the process, and I'm looking forward to this project. It looks like a good addition to this area. Do you have any questions for me?
Any questions for Ann? Thank you, Ann. Any additional speaker cards? None?
None.
All right, with that, we'll bring it back to the commission at 6, or close public comment at 6:15. Bring it back to the commission. Do you have any comments, questions in regards to the project itself, or?
Mr. Chair, I have just a
Yes, Dave.
few comments.
Sure.
I actually think that there's this project has some nice features that I like. The clear story window, the terrace, the textures of different materials facing north that would be visible along Fallon. I think it's a well-designed project.
I agree with you.
And, you're looking at a pre-engineered metal building with that in context. It's, I think it would be a well-done design, and I commend the applicant and the architect for doing a good job.
Thank you, Dave. Any additional comments, questions?
I thought the landscaping was a lot, and I like that. I think it's going to look really nice, and I was glad to see that it worked out the timeline for the applicant, so I was happy to see this on the agenda, and it looks very nice.
Okay. Thank you, Carol. All right. What is the pleasure of the commission on this item?
Oh, Mr. Chair, I'll go ahead and make the motion for approval of to adopt PC resolution number
2018-34.
2018-34 and approve site and architectural 2018-10 with the amendment to condition number 56.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, this item passes. Okay, we'll jump down to item number...
Congratulations.
Sorry. We'll move down to item number 4, use determination, number 2018-1, Dave Grimsley. The applicant is requesting to determine that the open space area that identified in the plan titled Proposed Zoning, prepared by MH Engineering Company for the lot located at the southwest terminus of Apricot Lane, further identified as San Benito County Parcel Assessors Number 020-060-014, meets the intent of the 2005-2023 City of Hollister General Plan to create an open space buffer that extends the future San Benito River Gateway. CEQA is categorically exempt. Ava.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. The applicant is requesting to determine that the open space area identified in the plan that you see on your screen, entitled Site Plan for Pre-Zoning and Annexation, prepared by MH Engineering Company for the lot located at the southwest terminus of Apricot Lane, further identified as Assessor Parcel Number 020-060-014, meets the intent of the general plan to create an open space buffer that extends the future San Benito River Greenway. The lot consists of 4.69 acres, and the lot is within the City of Hollister sphere of influence, and it is adjacent to the city limits. The applicant would like to pre-zone and annex the lot as low-density residential performance overlay, with the exception of the open space buffer along the western boundary of the lot, which, as you can see, provides at least 10 feet of open space along the upper edge of the slope, with the two larger open space dedicated areas on the north and south ends of that buffer. There would be a total of 3.85 acres of low-density residential and 0.84 acres of open space. The open space area lines up with the San Benito River Greenway dedication to the north and west. The 2005-2023 City of Hollister General Plan land use map has identified the property entirely as open space. And the City Council of the City of Hollister, at its regular meeting of April 6, 2009, approved resolution number 2009-40, adopting a mitigated negative declaration for the City of Hollister San Benito River Greenway project. The mitigated negative declaration included a site plan, as you can see on your screen, that illustrated the proposed project components consisting of 2 parking areas at Bridge Road and at Apricot Lane, a paved trail approximately 10 feet wide, extending at or along the base of the industrial wastewater treatment plant perimeter, and the total length of the paved trail between Bridge Road and Apricot Lane is proposed at approximately 4,500 linear feet. The approved MND identifies the Apricot Lane parking area encompassing 1.5 acres and would consist of an ingress-egress point from Apricot Lane with approximately 15 parking stalls. Informational signs, a visitor's kiosk, and drinking water fountains may be provided at this proposed parking area. The MND for the River Greenway was approved prior to the development of the Apricot Lane subdivision on the parcel to the north of the subject property, which includes the Apricot Park, which is on your screen. North is to the right side of the screen here. And the Apricot Park parking lot has 17 regular parking spaces and 1 handicap parking stall. The applicant has indicated in the use determination plan a proposal for a future extension of Summer Drive to the south with integrated parallel parking areas, which will accommodate even more future trail users in addition to the existing Apricot Park parking area. The subject parcel is currently entirely designated as open space, as you can see from the existing general plan designation on your screen. Only a section of the parcel was considered for open space in the form of the parking area and trail connection in the MND prepared for the River Greenway. At the time of developing the general plan, this parcel was dedicated entirely to open space because there was a potential for grant funding to purchase the entire property and include it in the River Greenway Park area. Unfortunately, the city didn't receive the funding from that grant and was unable to purchase the property from the owner. And so presently, it's not the intent of the city to purchase the property without the grant funding, and the city doesn't believe that it was the intent of the general plan to dedicate this entire parcel as open space without that funding. The proposed open space dedication will provide the necessary space for connectivity and expansion of the future River Greenway Trail, flexibility for the path of the river trail should the city be unable to acquire necessary land to the west of the site for the trail path, and another connected trailhead on Apricot Lane. And with that, staff recommends that the Planning Commission review the applicant's request, receive all written and oral testimony regarding the proposal, and approve the attached resolution, making a determination that the open spaced area identified in the plan entitled, the Site Plan for Pre-Zoning and Annexation, prepared by MH Engineering Company for the lot located at the southwest terminus of Apricot Lane, identified as APN 020-060-014, meets the intent of the general plan to create an open space buffer that extends the future San Benito River Greenway. Thank you. Are there any questions for staff?
Yes.
Go ahead, Carol.
Thank you. So essentially, we are giving a new general plan designation to this area that's not going to be part of the open space. Was there discussion with applicant, was there discussions about the best use for this property? It seems it's a low density residential. Is that because it's the same as the other next door property, or was there any discussion that maybe it could be a medium density residential? We're looking to have more denser so that we're not sprawling out, and basically that's, well, you got apartments there already. You do have apartments in the area. I just wondered, is that what the city recommended, was the low density residential?
I think that the city recommended the low-density residential because of the surrounding use, but in the performance overlay, I know that there has been discussion with the applicant about potential multifamily in addition to the low density. So they don't have a proposed tentative map,
Right,
but
right.
they have brought up to us multifamily.
Okay, thank you. I was just wondered if it was discussed.
Yeah.
I also had a question too. So given the proximity to the river, were there any considerations in regards to the flood plains or any of the potential FEMA flood issues that could occur on that site? Was that ever brought up or any topic of discussion?
I don't know that it's been brought up because I don't think the flood zone goes over this property. I believe that it's cut off.
Down at the bottom?
Yeah, it's contained
Okay.
on the other side of the slope.
Okay.
Good. Any additional questions for staff? Okay, with that, we will open it up for public comment. Do we have any speaker cards on this item? At
We-
6:25.
We do not.
None? All right, we'll close that public comment period at 6:25 and bring it back to the commission. What is the pleasure of the commission on this item?
I just wanted to think it's worth mentioning that there was a reference to land use policy 9.4 in the general plan, 2005 general plan. And that specifically states that when possible, preserve and restore natural drainage ways to the San Benito River and coordinate recreational and trail use along the river. So I think what that says to me is that what's really important here is to maintain that trail. And I think that's what this project is addressing.
Correct. Right. Thank you, Dave. Any additional comments, questions? None?
Entertain a motion?
Absolutely.
I move that the planning commission adopt PC resolution 2018-35, approving the use determination 2018-1 for the property at the southwest terminus of Apricot Lane.
I'll second that motion. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, that item passes. Okay, move down to new business. Do we have any new business for discussion? None?
I don't believe so, no.
Okay, old business. None? All right, planning department reports.
So we have two planning reports for you. The first is going to be the RV and boat ordinance. At the Monday, June 4th, 2018, Hollister City Council meeting, Council had directed staff to work with the Planning Commission in preparing an amendment to the RV and boat ordinance to consider and discuss the following. So what's before you right now is the old ordinance. This currently prohibits the parking and storage of any recreational vehicles, boats on private property unless parked or stored in a parking structure or garage that is fully enclosed. For the purposes of this section, this means that all four sides are enclosed and that you would not be able to see the RV or boat.
I'm sorry, if I just jump in here for a second?
Yeah.
That's the current ordinance?
Yes,
That you can't park an RV on a driveway?
not in the front area. You can park it in the legally side rear yard or your backyard, but it has to be covered.
Covered as meaning like a carport structure or something of that nature?
Yes, a fully enclosed structure.
I didn't realize that.
No, they're not allowed in the driveways.
So then I would venture to say that that's currently on the books, but it's not being enforced.
That's correct.
Okay.
So this is the proposed revisions to the current code. This has been modeled off of Gilroy's code.
I have a question before you go on.
Yes.
Maybe I'm confused, but did we have an ordinance, something, remember the city dealt with a situation with the parking recreation vehicles in the households and all that, or boats? Was there something in place or that wasn't adopted? Because I remember discussing this for a
Yeah,
length.
something's driving this request.
Oh,
I haven't been able to figure that out yet.
Okay. I thought maybe there was one that was gonna be changes.
Well, they want to change it.
Yeah, this is
Okay,
it.
you wanna change it?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Sorry.
Okay, no worries.
Okay.
I'm just going to
There's
go
something in place,
over
I'm gonna
the
change it.
proposed ordinance. So for the proposed ordinance, permitting the parking and storage of recreational vehicles and boats shall be outside of a structure on a paved driveway when space is not available in the rear or side yard, or the lot is not on the corner and has no reasonable access to either the side yard or the rear yard, provided that all the following conditions exist. Number 1, inside storage is not possible. Number 2, the vehicle is stored perpendicular to the front curb. 3, no part of the vehicle extends over the public sidewalk or public right-of-way. 4, no more than one recreational vehicle and one boat may be stored or parked in the front yard of each single-family residential unit. Number 5, the vehicle at least 3 feet away from the side or rear property lines. 6, the vehicle does not block access to or occupy any required parking spaces. In addition, stored recreational vehicles and boats shall not be, 1, used as dwelling units or for any dwelling purposes. 2, permanently connected to sewer lines, water lines, or electricity. Temporary electrical connections for charging batteries and the use of electricity or propane fuel will be permitted only when necessary to prepare an RV for immediate use. 3, storage of goods, materials, or equipment other than those considered to be a part of the unit or essential for immediate use would not be allowed. In addition to that, Council had also requested that staff get direction from the commission to define the maximum period of time in which an oversized RV and boat would be allowed at any public or private street, public off-street parking, or at any other public property for loading, unloading, cleaning, and routine maintenance and repair, or in conjunction with a permitted construction project. Are there any questions?
Questions for staff?
Well, I'm going to have some comments on it, that's for sure.
Go ahead, Dave.
Well, what's the purpose behind, I can understand a lot of these issues, for example, using it for storage, using it, permanently connecting it to a sewer. I can understand that, but if it's parked on your driveway and it's not overhanging into the public right-of-way, if it's within your property line, it's typically, a lot of these recreational vehicles some of them are very large and they're parked in the street. And I can understand the intention behind an ordinance that would not allow you to park a very large object on a street, just leave it there, without, it would create a blight. It would be a blight, what I would consider a blight. But if the recreational vehicle is small enough to park on your own driveway and you're just using it for recreational purposes, what purpose would it serve to have to move only be able to leave it there for 14 days? Because if you read through the ordinance, you're only allowed to leave it there for 14 days. I don't know what purpose that would serve.
So I believe the purpose of that was when we spoke to council about this item, they had mentioned that they had previously received many complaints from people having boats or RVs stored in the front driveway area. So limiting that time gives people the opportunity to do what they need to do, but then it would be removed or stored out of sight. I'm not sure if that's answering your question.
Yeah, but I'm just trying to get a clarification on the intention of this ordinance. because within reasonability, within reason, it makes sense if the RV is so large you can't park it on your driveway, you just park it in the street, that should not be allowed. But if it's small enough and you're just using it for recreational purposes, and everyone knows, I declared it at the last Planning Commission that I do have a recreational vehicle. It's called an RPod. Mm-hmm. It's parked next on my driveway. It's got about 5 feet to the front of my garage, and it's about 3 feet to the edge of the sidewalk, which is pretty much the edge of the sidewalk is where your property line is. I keep it. It looks nice. In fact, the hedge next to it is as high as the RPod. It's not creating any visual blight at all. It makes no sense within the way this ordinance is written for me to have to store it outside. It's just be a big inconvenience. And that's the reason we bought it. So because I know it's small enough to park it, and I haul it and I use it quite often. And it just doesn't make it. It should be some more specific on the size of the recreational vehicle and what it's being used for. And if it meets those requirements, then I would be in favor of the property owner to be able to park it on your own driveway and to leave it there. That is my view of this, and that's when I would request that 14-day. If it meets all these conditions, then I would just waive the 14 days. That's my request.
Well, I think what we have to also think about is that the new homes that we build in Hollister, they're all front-loading garages. Whereas in the older part of the community where I live, the garages are behind the house, so people can park their RVs on the side, like a side of the home. So it is kind of covered in a way. And so now we build homes with front-loading garages. People use garages for storage. We're seeing that people are parking on the streets, and so I think some of the intent of the ordinance is to actually have people park their cars on their driveway. If we have a lot that has 2 RVs parked in the front, in the driveway, I think we're kind of causing somewhat of a mess on our public streets too. So I think recreational vehicles, I'm all for them, but I do think we have to have some restrictions on them because lots are getting smaller here, and if we drive through a lot of these new subdivisions, all you kind of see are just RVs in the front yard, which is great. People are living their lives. I love that. But I do think that we have to kind of think, okay, if there's an RV there, where are the 2 cars at? Or where's...
Well, it's said in here that it can't take up any required parking for the unit. So what's the required parking for a single family? It's what? Any outside? 2 inside?
Outside.
It's 2.
So if it's 2, where are you parking the RV? Because you can't use your required parking for your single-family use.
It's 2, the requirement that you're saying is 2 on-site parking places.
Yes,
So
2
isn't that
on-site.
The garage? But
The
isn't that
garage.
the garage?
Yes.
The garage does count as on-site
Well,
parking,
then, if you
yes.
have a garage, I have a 2-car garage in my particular case. I have a 2-car garage, and I can park also 2 vehicles in front of my garage, and I'll be totally honest with you. I use, with my daughter and daughters, I've been helping them with store furniture in my garage. Right now, it's kind of half filled with furniture, and tools of that nature. However, I use half the driveway accommodates 2 vehicles. I use that for parking 1, and then the other vehicle that I park in front on the street. And then the recreational vehicle, which is 1, not 2, I park on my driveway. And to me, I think it looks nice. So,
Yeah, yours does.
in this specific... So I think when I'm trying to urge on this particular ordinance to be a little bit more specific, site-specific, the way it's written, And if you comply with all these conditions, and you still have parking, on-site parking, I think then there's no reason why you can't just park your RV there and not have to move it if it's small enough and doesn't encroach in a public right-of-way.
I think one of the points to think about, though, is that we have no clue what a garage holds for people. And so if it's filled with belongings and they have one RV on their driveway, then they're not meeting their parking. And so, we have to kind of have an equilibrium point here to understand, what is more beneficial, to get cars off the streets and parking them in driveways and garages.
Then we could say that we could write this ordinance and say that if you accommodate 2 vehicles on site and still have space for another RV and not encroach on the public right-of-way, not use it for storage, and use it just for purely recreational purposes, then there would be no purpose for you to have to move it. And I can certainly do some. That's one of the things that I do sometimes on the weekend is I put around the garage and sweep it, and I can certainly rearrange it and park a car in there, and I'll have 2 parking spaces on site, and then still have one parking space for an RV. I think if you comply with those conditions, then there's no real purpose to have to move it.
So, Brian, with the new ordinance, what are the time frames now, or are there any time frames? I live in the Sunny Slope Village area, and I know the RVs start coming out around June, and folks are putting cars in the garage to make space for some of their RVs that they're going to use throughout the summer. So now, a lot of them are getting cleaned up so they can go back out to storage. Typically, they're sending them out to San Felipe storage or something like that. So that's what we've seen over the last 14, 15 years that we've been out there. They bring them out during the summer, and then they go back out to cold storage out in the San Felipe Road. Is there a time frame for those to be out there?
I don't know if we go down to this. Do we go down to the specifics, Amber?
So what we have written currently in our ordinance, right here, it says the RV or boat may be parked, stored, left, or kept and maintained in the driveway for a total of 14 days in each year. The RV or boat may not extend into the sidewalk or public right-of-way. So there isn't anything within here if someone was going to come and unload, load their recreational vehicle or boat. There's no time frame on that. As it's written, this is technically saying that you're only allowed 14 days out of the entire
It's a
year.
cumulative number.
Yes.
For when you're readying your rig.
Okay.
Yes, that's
And
correct.
the permitting process is that, I'm assuming that the homeowner would apply for a permit for that, and there would be some type of identified sticker on there of some type?
It's sort of on the honor code.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's be-
Okay, I'd like to speak. if
Go
I
ahead,
can.
Carol.
Well, I give this a lot of thought, and not just because I have one of those giant rigs, but I have nightmares about everybody pulling their RVs out of the storage and putting them in their driveways. Storage for RVs is not cheap, but I think it's necessary. I like the regulations we have now. Also, I'm not all the way confident that code enforcement is going to be able to handle all of the issues that are going to come up for people and misinterpreting the regulations as proposed. And I do not wish to see RVs in the front. So if the people I represent want that, they should call me, because I'm inclined to say no. I like the rules the way they are, and no, I do not want to see RVs all over in the front. If you can fit them on the side with the setbacks, you can fit them in the back. I think that's great. I'm not saying don't ever have them. I just don't want to see them being the front of the house, because the driveway's in the front there. I think it's a can of worms that will make not a good look. Those are all my comments.
Thank you, Carol.
There's something to be said also, is that this originally came from former council member Friend. And so when he brought that up, he actually recused himself because he owns an RV. And so there might be a change of philosophy now.
Oh, yeah, you
So.
parked it in front, but mine's in the rear yard, so I don't like the look. That's my concern.
If I may ask a question, Commissioner Lenore, would you be okay with people storing their recreational vehicles or boats uncovered in the backyard?
Yes, in the backyard. I don't care.
Okay.
But they have to meet setbacks back there for habited buildings, sheds, fences. If it fits, absolutely. I'm not that heavy-handed. I just don't want old RVs, and some of them don't look good. And I'll add this too, that Thousand Trails, just in the last couple of years, because of aesthetics and old rigs, they had to start saying, I think it's 85 and forward, you can't bring a rig in over 1985. Can't have peeling stickers, can't have broken windows, because it doesn't look good. And not all rigs look good. I know yours does, and it's cute and it's small, but they don't all look like that. That's just what my concern is. And then parking in the public right-of-way, other than if you're getting it ready, obviously they never belong in the public right-of-way. And that's a police department action, it's not a code enforcement. So
Well,
if you have a rig in the street and you're tired of looking at it, call the police department. They do a really good job with those.
I think that from a practicality standpoint, if your rig is so large that you can't park it on your driveway and you're parking on the street, I can definitely see a reason for this ordinance. But if your RV is small enough where you're only using half your driveway, it's not encroaching on any public space, and you're using it for purely recreational purposes, then you should be allowed to park it there. And that's summary of my contention on this.
Yeah, if I may, also I agree I concur with what's being said, because to me, like, it's a safety issue. You have one of those big things in front of the house out in the public street. It's more dangerous if somebody, you can't see if somebody's in front, they're gonna jump out in front of you. At least if there's a car, it's lower. But some of those rigs are really big, and they really don't look very good.
Does make a sight distance issue.
I wouldn't think of changing the ordinance, because I think that we have one in place, and for safety reasons also.
I totally agree. If it's big enough, sometimes kids play around there and they're darting in and out. I mean, it can be a total safety hazard.
Because
if it's so large that you can't even park it in your driveway, definitely we have
because
something
right now
has
they
to be
can
done
have them in
there.
the driveway, and as long as it's their property, right? I mean, that's the way it is, I remember the ordinance.
Right.
But, but on the street also, it says, I was reading in terms of not to be used like for somebody to be living, and I know there's some that people live in, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, they can't ever be in the
Well,
street.
there you
Yeah,
go.
no,
See, that I
no.
wanted to make that perfectly clear, is that it can only be used for recreational purposes. It can't be used as a
Well, that's
dwelling.
state law, it's an RV, it's not
Yeah.
a mobile home. So
Yeah,
you can't live in recreational vehicles.
We also
Unless
have to
you're
look
on
at this
park.
in terms of enforceability, something that can be enforced
Right.
with reason. It'd be very difficult to say, you've been parking your R-Pod for 15 days out of the year. Well, how would you know? I mean, come on. Let's get real here, We're gonna have an ordinance that can be enforced within reason.
So what more direction do you need from us, Brian?
Are you looking for a consensus of something?
I think
Or the proposed regulation?
I think from staff's perspective, we would like some sort of consensus from the Plan Commission as to, do we stay with the current ordinance with no changes? Do we come back to you with maybe some tweaks that you'd like to see? I think that we've put some time towards this under the direction from a former council member, and if it's the desire of the Plan Commission to bring it back, we can do that. And if no action is needed, then we move forward. So
I think we need to work on it some more. I think it makes sense to have an ordinance, but for those reasons that I expressed, if your RV is so large that you can't park it, and it constitutes what I call a blight. And definitely there should be an ordinance that applies to that. But that's something that can be enforced. If you're parking a small RV that's only used for recreational purposes, meets all those conditions, then it should be allowed to be parked on your driveway.
And I would add to that it's a functional RV of a smaller size.
Not
Yes,
in
a smaller
Not
size,
an
right.
inoperable.
Your garage driveway is typically about 20 feet. The RV that I have I would say it's about 14 feet. And if it meets those requirements, And I think then it should be acceptable, and if it's only used for recreational purposes, it does not constitute a blight, and there's no reason for you to have to move it.
So I think
Do you
we
agree?
continue
I
to,
like the rules as they are.
Okay.
So do I.
I'm gonna have to agree with Commissioner Lenore.
Okay,
The current ordinance,
okay.
with the exception of if it's behind a gate in a side yard with an RV, that it doesn't need to be covered. But I'm content with the ordinance as they are.
Okay.
Okay.
That gives us direction.
perfect.
Keep it as it is.
All righty. We'll move on to the next item. I'm sorry, go ahead.
So, as the current ordinance is written, you are not allowed to keep it uncovered in your side or rear yard. So would the commission like us to bring something back that is the current ordinance, but with the allowance of perhaps uncovered storage in the side and rear yards?
So long as the setbacks are met.
So long as setbacks
That's
are
my
met?
opinion.
Or you say the side or the front
They're
yard.
not gonna be the focus
On your
point in front
driveway.
of the house, you know?
Your driveway doesn't necessarily be the rear or side yard. It can be in the front. That's typically driveways are more predominantly in the front.
My other concern too was how do you deem a yard's got enough room back there to park the rig, which if they don't, then they come out to the front. Who makes that determination? They might just have lawn furniture everywhere when you come to look, say, oh, we can't park it there.
Yeah.
No.
Thank you, Commission.
All right. So we'll move on to the next item, Farmhouse Cafe Parklet.
On Thursday, July 19, 2018, the City of Hollister's Development Services staff received a request from Farmhouse Cafe owner Becky Herbert and Jennifer Lane of San Benito County Arts Council to create a temporary parklet in downtown Hollister. The parklet will be located in front of Farmhouse Cafe, located at 615 San Benito Street, further identified as San Benito County Assessor Parcel Number 054-060-020, during the months of September and October of this year. The purpose of the proposed pilot project, as stated in their letter, is to encourage outdoor dining and the enjoyment, to foster a sense of place amongst San Benito Street, and to bring attention and awareness to the growing cultural scene in downtown Hollister. The parklet will be approximately 20 feet by 6 feet, covering the length of and width of 2 parking spaces. The parklet will be buffered 3 feet high, enclosed, constructed with the built-in planter boxes on all 3 sides. The parklet will be a public space with operating hours of Monday through Saturday, 8 a.m. to 3 p.m., and Sunday from 8 a.m. till 12 p.m., which mimics the hours of the Farmhouse Cafe. Movable temporary patio furniture will be provided by the Farmhouse Cafe. They will place it on the parklet during their regular business hours, and they will be responsible for locking it away at night. The applicant has also stated in their letter that they will procure written approval from the neighboring businesses as well as the owners of the building that will be impacted by the loss of the parking from this project. In addition, prior to any construction of the parklet, the Farmhouse Cafe has agreed to provide a general liability proof of insurance to the city before construction begins. Does the commission have any questions? We were able to meet with Ms. Lane prior to the meeting. We did discuss a few items that we would like to disclose to the commission. One of them being that the time frame may possibly have to change. We were just informed that Ms. Herbert is having to deal with some unexpected family emergencies, and this may push the project back. However, we wanted to bring it to commission tonight just so we could get information and kind of keep the ball rolling. The farmhouse may close. When it reopens, they would start construction if the project was approved. The other large item that we had discussed with Ms. Lane was we had asked for consideration of bicycle parking. When we met with her, there was discussion that it may kind of hinder the production building of the parklet, we discussed letting the artist have some creativity in including in a different drawing, if you will. She had kind of mentioned putting circular pieces on the end, possibly on which the bikes could be parked. A lot of other cities have temporary bike parking that they put out for people that are willing to sponsor a parklet. However, we do not have that currently, so we would be working with the applicant to hopefully include bicycle parking. We don't want to make it a requirement if we don't have to. They're willing to do it. They just want to have some creative freedom on how to include that space.
Okay. Comments? I had one. Dave, Danny, San Benito Street, what is the designation on that street? I mean, we have 4 lanes on San Benito, so that's...
We have 2.
Is it 2 lanes?
2 now. Yeah.
Okay. And so, and I know the photos that they included in our packet here are more of a, I don't believe that is a 2-lane. There's no marker designations of any type in the photos that they show there. I know that's definitely a different type of road design. Looks like interior.
It's going to be in.
Yeah, this is, I like to call it a beta.
Yeah. Do we think we like it?
Well, this is just me. I tell you, I'll say one thing. I love downtown Hollister, and we're seeing a lot of investment in downtown Hollister. A lot more people are coming there. I think this provides some great synergy to what we have going on. The one thing that Hollister has that many other places don't have is that we've got a lot of sunshine. And so I think we don't sit outside enough in downtown Hollister. And, you know,
the traffic's going by too fast.
well, you know, I
Making gains on
Yeah.
that.
That's right.
It's better.
Not a lot of space there. But yeah.
No, but I think, though, that, you know, we've got to kind of think outside the box and try to bring some different amenities for people to come to Hollister downtown and sit outside, have some lunch. You know, I think if this goes through, that we'll have a better understanding of how to regulate it in the future if this is successful. So
Sure.
I totally agree with Brian there. You know, one of the things when we were going in the 2005 general plan, we were looking at ideas to bring more outdoor activity on and within the downtown area, and looking at the alleys and ways to improve the alleys, for example, and you know, like New Orleans and some of those.
Those have been good.
The outdoor seating, that's one thing that we certainly lack in the downtown environment. So, I mean, the
Looking
intention
better in
is
the
really,
alleys.
I think, I totally agree with that.
and I know San Francisco does this a lot, and it's just I think it's a great amenity for communities and neighborhoods.
Socializing.
Well, here
Yeah.
locally, I think Morgan Hill is a really good
Yeah.
example
Yeah.
downtown of
Yeah.
exactly
That's
this.
You know, Morgan Hill,
If-
Monterey.
I have a question.
Oh,
So,
go ahead.
so it stays there, whatever time length we allow it, it just stays there. So the parking spots are not available.
Correct.
Certainly, it may not work everywhere because we need parking downtown. But I mean, if there wasn't too many doing it, it would work quite nice. I like it. The thought.
I do too.
I also wanted to include that we have proposed to put the Jersey barriers out. If you aren't familiar with that term, they are the red barriers that are used at farmers market. They will be surrounded on all sides of the parklet. Most other major cities, our action notice was modeled after larger cities like San Francisco, Seattle, Philadelphia, things like that, looking forward. So one of the things is we want to make sure, they call it a wheel stop.
Yeah.
Those would be placed 4 feet away from the parklet itself.
That's going to take more room.
Yes, we're working on calculations. We went out there yesterday and measured them. So we're working with the applicant. They have agreed if they need to make this space a little bit smaller, that's something
Right.
they
It's
could
important. People are distracted driving.
do. The other thing that we had discussed, it had been brought up in our DRC meeting, is making sure that it's secure at night. Within the action notice, we have asked the applicant that they get a notice of trespass from PD, and that they would also secure the the parklet at night with a rope, just so no one is allowed to sleep in it during night, and police have the authority to ask people to leave if they need to do so. The other item that we would like guidance on from the commission is we have written it right now that no entertainment should be allowed. The applicant has asked if acoustics be allowed, like acoustic guitars. So we had said nothing amplified, but is the commission willing to allow?
I don't think any guitar should be allowed.
Oh, come on. You'd be the first
I
one
said
to-
that as a joke.
No, I'm in favor of that.
Come on, everybody knows I play guitar.
Non-amplified.
Non-amplified.
Yeah, music's good for the soul.
Absolutely. In fact, that's where I'm going tonight. I'm going over to Rudy's Barn after this.
So if I could sum this up in one word, I would have to say finally.
Finally?
Finally.
Yay.
I think this is overdue, and I think with reclaiming of the San Benito Street and putting in the bypass, this is all part of that plan that everybody had in mind. The word, or mentioning the parking, I think we can revisit doing diagonal parking and reclaiming some parking back on San Benito Street. And then also regarding allowing the architect to work with the bikes and the parking of the bike. I'm all for that right now. I encourage people to ride their bikes, but I'm not seeing an overwhelming inconvenience of bikes laying around that it's a problem. So yeah, I'm all for
There's
allowing.
a bike lane downtown. They say you can ride it. They say you can use the full width of the street. Like, yeah, right. Those
But-
cars behind you aren't gonna like that.
But even if that's a parking spot that's going in, not a bike lane. So we're not getting in the way of a cyclist riding down the street. So yeah, I definitely encourage this.
That's
Thank you.
another issue.
What we need
The
to,
people
what
riding the bikes
we
down,
would
they're
need
gonna have
to really look at this,
It would have
to
been a car they would
evaluate it, is to have a site plan, at least a partial site plan, to see the circulation patterns around the parklet, see how that's going to work with pedestrians, and just have a
Well, phase
partial
2
site
is
plan.
coming of the whole downtown.
Looking at that, you really can't tell. You really can't tell how that impacts pedestrian paths, bike lanes, or bike paths, or vehicles. So
And that's
what
when
we
the
need is have some kind of a site plan to look at.
Yes, definitely. With what you said, we have actually spoken with the applicant, and we would like to kind of do some research and tallying how it does affect traffic. Does it bring more people downtown? How often is it used? Is it slowing down traffic? Things like that we can hopefully use in the future for more projects like this.
I think the problem I'm going to have is having it go away. I want it all around 12 months of the year.
I'm going to have to agree with you.
We evolved into that.
Yeah, this is a pilot program, and what we'll gain from this is what we should do in the future. Site plans, stuff like that. So,
I'd like it not to go into an administrative approval, though. I want planning commission to look at that.
we agree. We agree.
All right, and staying with that, do we have any planning commission reports?
Gabe, may I?
Go ahead,
once the commission's done, I would like to bring up a few items, if that's okay.
Sure.
First and foremost, I'd like to introduce Jason Epperson. Jason is our new city attorney. He's been on board for, 3 weeks maybe? 4?
I believe it's 7 weeks.
7 weeks? Okay. Yeah, time goes by too fast. So just wanted to introduce Jason.
Welcome.
Nice to meet you too. Thank you very much. I look forward to being there.
I also.
I heard you're good. I'm sorry, go ahead, Brian.
He's excellent.
I heard
He's excellent.
you guys are really good. So I think a strong council is one of the best things a city can have. A competent council. It just stops all the baloney. So, doesn't it?
Well,
When you know the
that's
law
the
good,
case.
right?
council.
Yeah. Competent council.
Thank you very much.
SEL.
I'm thrilled to be here.
Okay.
Wanted to introduce Socorro Zendejas. Socorro is a new member of the team. She's our assistant engineer. We are very excited to have her here. Hollister native too, right?
Awesome.
Yeah, so she's got a great smile, and that goes a long way in our department because we come across some tough times at the counter. So, Mariah Marzin also is in the finance department. She's helped us at the front counter. So, thank you. And I just wanted to take a moment to show my gratitude towards Eva and Amber. They're new to the career. They've been here for probably about 4 months, and they've really helped pick up the ball and make my job easier. So I wanted to show some gratitude towards them.
Your American casting report was well written.
Yeah, and I'll tell you one thing. Danny's been a savior to me in the engineering division too. So I'm very thankful to have all of them here. I do have a request. I'd like to see if the commission could adjourn in the honor of Maria Prado, Abraham Prado's mother. We're a pretty close-knit family over there, and we understand the loss that he's gone through, and it's affected all of us. And so,
Very close to his mother.
yeah. So we just would like to see if that would be something you could do tonight. So.
Thank you. All right. So with that, we will call for motion for adjournment.
So I adjourn in honor of Maria Prado.
Second.
Motion and a second.